you the larger picture that you definitely should be aware of. All of this is intended to help you get away from misinformation on the internet and get out in front of these women and have a very real and authentic experience, all right? 3 lies women tell and why they tell them. First of all, I want to set this up. I've said all along, and I'll say it again tonight, if you've got 5 things that Ukrainian women are looking for, frankly, Chinese women, Thai women, Philippine women, Colombian women, international women are looking for these 5 qualities. And if you've got them, you are in a great place to go forward, find love, and succeed. And they are as follows. If you are, very subjective by the way, most of them, if you are a nice guy, if you're a good guy with good old-fashioned family values and a healthy respect for women and relationships, if you're realistic about what you're looking for, and if you're ready to get on a plane and go get your girl, the truth of the above is that you are in a great place to go and find love and succeed with a very, very beautiful international girl. You absolutely are. If you're a nice guy with good old-fashioned family values, a healthy respect for women, if you're realistic about age difference, realistic in what you're looking for, and if you're ready to do something about it in the very near future, that's it. Those are the 5 qualities that international women want. And yet, it's difficult to find guys who embody all of that. We often meet men who have a lot of that, or men who have most of that. Maybe there's just one component that's missing. I, frankly, meet a lot of guys who have all of that, but they could be a little bit more realistic in what they're looking for. That would probably help them take a shorter path to the woman they're going to ultimately fall in love with. But if you got that all going on, guys, and you know, that's your reality check right there. I mean, you sitting there watching me right now, you know if you possess all of those things. And if there's nothing stopping you in any of the above, then you're ready to go forward and meet somebody. And you have an excellent chance of having great fun and excitement and finding love with a beautiful international girl. There may be some problems with your approach. And those aren't your fault. You're doing what everyone else is doing. You're looking at profiles. You're writing to women you find to be attractive. You're reacting to women who are reaching out and writing to you. All of those are very, very natural behaviors when you're just starting out, trying to navigate your way through international dating. But to create that effective approach, in order to have the right approach, to find the right girl and not waste a lot of time writing letters in numerous directions, really not getting anywhere over a long period of time, to have an effective approach that leads you to her, the shortest possible path to her, that girl who's waiting for you to discover her, you've got to understand some things about international women and their expectations. You've got to understand what I'm going to call the landscape around them. There are a lot of misunderstandings about international dating, guys, that probably won't surprise you, but when you go out on the internet and you read forums and you read feedback and you read things that are posted on the internet, tons and tons of misunderstandings by the people who are writing them, and by those who are reading them not understanding the full context of what they're reading. Men see and read about and wrap their minds around the stuff that's in front of you, right? So you see profiles of women on the internet, and you see that they're lonely, and you see that they're writing to you, and you see that they're available and that they want to meet somebody, and you see how agencies bring those women out in front of you, and you see how men correspond to them, meet them, try and date them, with mixed results, right? The good, the bad, the whatever. You can't see the day-to-day exposure that women have. You can't see the day-to-day things that go on, more or less behind the scenes, if you will, that really impact the women and how they react to you when you sit down and write them a letter. And that's not your fault. You just can't absorb every single detail about every single website and all the women that are on it. You can't do that, but that is the landscape. And in order to be successful in finding your girl, you've got to understand a little bit of the landscape around them. So let's talk about the landscape. I will tell guys in my seminar that guys often see what's going on above ground, if you will. Guys often see what's on the horizon, the stuff that's right in front of them, the stuff that's really, really obvious. Guys rarely see and rarely understand the stuff going on behind the scenes, right? You see opening night on Broadway. You don't see the weeks and weeks and months of preparation and all of the various things that affect the members of the cast up until opening night. So I just want you to kind of wrap your mind around some of that right now, and then we'll talk about how the women react to some of this, right? So in order to meet beautiful international women, you've got to understand their landscape. How do women join websites? Sometimes women are joining websites and posting their profiles by themselves. So they come to a website, they fill out a form, they add their pictures, and their profile goes up on that website. More often than not, There are independent agencies working on a local level. So independent agencies that work in the Philippines, that work in China, that work in Ukraine and Colombia and other places. And these local agencies create a presence in the community. They reach out, they talk to women. Again, I know a very good independent agency owner in Ukraine. She's a doctor. She meets a lot of women in the medical profession, other doctors, for example, fitness experts. I know a gentleman who's in the model promotions industry. He promotes models, and he meets a lot of models, and he brings them to our format. And there are all kinds of people who work on a local level who have an international dating or marriage agency, if you will, and they have a presence on a local level, but nobody really knows them on a broader worldwide level. And quite frankly, most of the time when you see women's profiles on sites like ours, meaning ours and sites like ours, other people that you've heard of in the international dating business, those profiles came to our site by way of independent agencies or offices who are on the ground on a local level. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? I mean, women in Medellin, Colombia can go to our office in Medellin, sit down and talk to our staff about what it's like to join a marriage agency, if you will, what it's like to meet foreign men, what it's like to correspond with foreign men, what if they fall in love, what happens then, what are the visa options, the spousal visa, the fiancé visa process, what are those like? Women can come to our offices and to those independent agencies and sit down and talk about all of the possible things that they might encounter and their journey toward their man. And then they usually decide to submit a profile, add pictures, and go up on our website by way of one of these independent agencies which are on the ground locally, and also some of our really great offices, like our great office in Kiev and our great office in Odessa and Poltava and Nikolaev in the Ukraine. What happens to women after they join a marriage agency? That's not something that a lot of guys think about, but a woman will post her profile or give a profile or develop a profile and pictures with an agency. Well, a lot of things can happen. One of the things that can happen is her profile goes up and suddenly men notice her and men start writing to her. That's one thing that can happen. An agency that's just trying to make money and trying to help the girl get some exposure may give her profile to other agencies, may post her profile on other sites that she didn't necessarily know about or maybe knew about. Sometimes agencies will sell profiles to other agencies. That happens on a local level too, in places like China, the Philippines, and Ukraine. Definitely does. Sometimes the women know about it, sometimes they don't. Sometimes a woman Googles her name and finds herself on an agency she wasn't anticipating being a part of. That all happens when a woman joins the agency. If a woman joins one of our agencies or one of our offices, we'll start calling her to invite her to some of our social events that are coming up. That's unique for a lot of women to actually have a chance to come out to a social party, to meet some guys like you. And all of those things can happen when a woman's profile goes up on a site. The women notice what happens with them, what kind of letters they get, who's writing to them and for how long, what those guys are talking about when they're writing. So if they're writing letters that are positive, if they're writing letters that are kind of strange, if they're writing letters that are kind of sad and nostalgic, or some combination of the above, the women are experiencing that. And they're seeing and hearing what other women are experiencing as well. Do you see where I'm going with this, guys? They read the media, they see the media, they read stories on the news, they watch the news, they hear about the couple that met, two people that were perfectly lonely, one from Ukraine or one from China, one from America. They met, they fell in love, they have a happy love story. They see those stories just like we see them here occasionally. They also hear the strange stories of, the guy who did this, the girl who did that, or when somebody said something that wasn't quite right, somebody was disingenuous, somebody hurt somebody else, something like that. They hear the good, the bad, and the ugly when they join a marriage agency, just like we in our culture hear the good and bad and the ugly of international dating, I guess. And they obviously see a lot of stuff in the media. And as I said, sometimes there are just complete violations of their privacy. Sometimes their profiles are sold without their permission. Sometimes contact information is sold without their permission. Sometimes really personal information is sold without their permission or given away without permission, things like passport numbers and such. Some of the women will say that they've been stalked. I've talked to women before that said that, I was in correspondence with this guy. I remember this girl from the Philippines telling this story about how she was writing to a guy she hadn't met. She'd written to him for maybe a month or so. She said, I'm going to stop writing you for a few days because I have to study for exams. And later on, her college professor came to her and said, who is this guy? And she said, what are you talking about? This guy found you and found me and contacted me to ask if you were really in class like you said you were going to be, because apparently he didn't believe you were going to be in class. I remember that story. And there are those kind of strange stories that are out there. They're definitely unique, and they're definitely not, the status quo, if you will. It's not something they're not typical, I guess is what I'm trying to say, but they do happen. So women can encounter any of the above, any of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly, when their profile goes up on a website, when they join a marriage agency. And you need to understand this, because you're looking at what you're doing. You're looking at profiles, you're writing to women, you're a gentleman, you've got a good heart, you're writing good things, you're trying to be interesting, and you're making such an effort, but you're just not aware of some of the other things that women are encountering or did encounter before they met you, before they started writing to you. And there are truths that are just, unfortunately, part of international dating websites and the use of international dating websites that are out there. There are truths that lead to the lies that women will tell you. We're going to talk about those lies in a moment, but here are some of the truths that women have wrapped their minds around over time, because they've had to. Tens of thousands of men like you out there watching me right now will write letters with no direction and no end game. On the one hand, that's a very natural behavior, but I just found a website. I was kind of curious. I saw some profiles. I started writing to a few women. A couple women started writing me. There's absolutely nothing unnatural about that. But many men will find themselves still doing that a year later, still writing in various directions with no idea what happens when they meet somebody and they develop that correspondence and they really like each other. Many men just don't find a way to take it to the next level. And so they exist in that endless cycle of correspondence. An incredibly small percentage of the tens of thousands of men in America, or North America, around the world, who are writing letters on websites to international women, an incredibly small percent of those guys are ever going to get on a plane and actually go and meet somebody. We're talking about less than 5% of the tens of thousands of guys who are writing letters month after month, year after year, are ever going to get on a plane to go and meet somebody. And the women know this. The women are learning this. The women are writing to men are writing to them. And after 4 or 5 or 6 months, the correspondence drops off, or it ends without explanation, or nothing happens. So for example, one of my managers is writing to me recently saying, "Bud, I've got this guy writing to one of my girls, and his letters say that he's in love and they're going to get married, and he's building a house for her, and he's coming on the upcoming tour in 2 weeks. And he's bringing 5 friends of his. What's going on?" Because she's obviously excited, and I need to know if I need to book extra hotel rooms. So I look at the guy's correspondence, and man, he's really laying it down, man. He's, "Hey, yeah, I love you, baby. You're my girl. We're going to get married. I'm building a house. You're so lucky," he says. "I am so going to be such a great husband for you. I chose you. I chose you over all the possible women, baby, because you're special and I love you." He's literally saying this stuff letter after letter after letter after letter. "I'm building a house for you. I'm going to buy you a car." All this and that. But he's not booking the tour. And he's not making travel arrangements. So I left him a message, a couple of messages, and no response. And he clearly is, well, it is what it is, right? He's full of it. He's just writing stuff, randomly saying all this stuff that he doesn't mean. Unfortunately, there are tens of thousands of guys that do that. Why? I don't know. But it just is what it is. It's part of that virtual counterfeit relationship of correspondence that I talk about so much. You have to understand, guys, that women in Ukraine, especially because they're so popular, but also women in the Philippines, women in Latin America, women in Asia, women in China are experiencing the same thing. They're getting letters after letters after letters from guys saying all kinds of wonderful stuff, but not backing any of it up with progressive action. What it really boils down to, guys, is that there are so many agencies that are out there that you've heard of, a good number of them that you haven't heard of, whose target client base, whose customer base is looking for the ultimate virtual relationship. Tens of thousands of men, not necessarily you, but men like you who are watching me right now, tens of thousands of you, want to write letters. You want to correspond with, you want to communicate with international women. You're lonely, you've got time, you're willing to invest a little bit, you're willing to be open-minded enough to consider meeting and dating women from other cultures, but a lot of men come to a format like this looking only for the ultimate virtual relationship. Do you guys remember about a month ago, one of my independent agency partners in Nikolaev, Ukraine, wrote to me and said, "Man, I've got such nice girls, and they're always very popular at your socials, so I know the men like them, but I've got a whole bunch of them right now, and it's nothing but crickets. They're getting no letters, they're getting no attention, nobody's coming to meet them, And they're such nice girls. I said, why don't you tell me who they are, and I'll point them out on one of my webcasts. I have thousands of guys, thousands of you turkeys, watching me on Monday night and throughout the week. And I bet if I just throw these 5 or 6 or 7 profile numbers from our website out at you, you will look them up and write to them if you know they're getting no attention and no correspondence, and you want to write to somebody who's lovely and attractive and getting no attention. Who wouldn't want to do that if you're into writing letters and reaching out to communicate with beautiful foreign women? So I brought those 6 profiles up. I showed you where to find them. I implored every single one of you watching me to write to these girls, and nobody wrote to them. Nobody wrote to them. Not one letter was written from the thousands of guys who watched that webcast to any of the 6 incredibly beautiful women that I told you were getting no correspondence. And that's okay. The problem is that so many guys who are here, the vast majority of men that are here in this realm, looking at Ukrainian women, Chinese women, Philippine women, you want the ultimate virtual relationship, and it looks like this. You want only the most perfect model-esque girls. You want Sports Illustrated swimsuit quality girls. The more perfect, the more photoshopped, the more better. More better. Remember the More Better Blues? Anyway, you want perfection. You do. You want the women that are at the top of Love Me. You want the banner girls, right? Nothing less is going to do. You want absolute perfection. I'm sorry if I sound sarcastic, guys, but bear with me, all right? The ultimate virtual relationship, I want to write to models. I want to write to those beautiful girls with the big, beautiful Photoshop boobs. I want it to be exclusive. I don't want her writing anybody else, bud. That's not fair. That's not nice. I want her to say only squishy romantic stuff to me and not to anybody else. I want to talk about any topic anytime I want to talk about it. If I want to write about sad and depressing stuff, I'll write it and she'll love it. If I want to write about whatever my particular fantasies are, she'll be into that as well. Send whatever pictures I want. You know where I'm going with this, guys, right? I want that, bud. I want the whole experience of writing about all aspects of relationships with my beautiful, perfectly Photoshop boobed girl. I want to be prolific. If I have nothing to do for several hours and I feel like writing War and Peace, I want to write a long letter. And I want her to read every single sentence at the end of her 16-hour day and be thrilled with everything that I'm writing. And I want it to go on indefinitely. I don't want to be, pressured. I don't want to be, I can only write 3 or 4 or 5 months, and if I haven't done anything by then, you're going to lose interest and leave. I don't want that. I want it to go on indefinitely. And I want it to be, frankly, I want it to be kind of cheap. I don't want to spend a lot of money on writing letters. How many times have I heard guys say that? And good for you, by the way, because I absolutely support you when you say, I'm not going to spend a lot of money writing letters. Good. Don't. Tens of thousands of guys do, and I don't want you to. But a lot of guys want that whole entire experience to be cheap or free. And most importantly, bud, more than anything, bud, I want it to be real. I want to write my model. I want her to have beautiful big Photoshop boobs. I want her to only be writing me, talk about anything I want, anytime I want. I want to write as much as I want. Your translators will translate my War and Peace letters. If I write War and Peace, and she'll read War and Peace and like it, I want to write indefinitely. And I want it to be free and real. Tens of thousands of guys are approaching agencies and international dating websites with that exact desire in mind. And of course, it's not realistic, right? But I know that there are a good number of you that are out there, probably a growing number of you that are just getting tired of all of that. I told you that one day, if that's you, if you're doing that, one day you're going to wake up, look in the mirror, and just be sick of it. You are. I don't know how long that will take. For some, it's 10 years. For some, it's a year. For some, it's a month. But at some point, you're going to look in the mirror and say, this sucks. I'm not doing this anymore. It's time for me to go out to the real world and get a girl. Have that love relationship. The thing is, guys, women know what's going on because women encounter what's going on when they join a marriage agency. Ours or anybody else's, I completely guarantee you. Women know what men want. Women understand that whole virtual fantasy relationship, the ultimate virtual relationship. Women experience that. They're a part of it unintentionally. They're dragged into it by guys who have no idea what they're doing, but writing letter after letter after letter with no idea what the next step is. So they know what men are doing. They know how the agencies are making their money. They know where the agencies are frustrated. They know what the scams are. They know what the scams are happening. They get all of that. The women are completely in the know behind the scenes about what you want and what you're experiencing. And yet still, tens of thousands of incredibly beautiful, sincere, sophisticated, alluring, exciting, wonderful, interesting women are waiting for their guy. They haven't given up hope. What fun is that? Can you imagine if you're a girl and you're lonely? I mean, you know, 28, 29, 30, 35, maybe 40. You look great. You have so much to offer somebody. You haven't had a truly good romantic relationship in a long, long time. Are you going to give up? Most of the women don't give up. They hang in there year after year after year, just waiting to meet their good guy, just waiting for their king, as they would say, just waiting for their man to come into their life, hoping that he eventually does. But as you keep your correspondence in mind, as you keep all of that in mind, I want you to consider the 3 lies that you might encounter given all of the above. You're writing to the women, given all of the above, here are 3 things that women might tell you that aren't necessarily true. Number 1, my phone service is unreliable, or I don't have a phone, and therefore I cannot give you my phone number. Have you ever encountered that? I want to talk to this girl on the phone. I want the ultimate relationship, right? And I want all of that, and I want to talk to her on the phone. No, look, guys, I understand. Believe me, I think you should talk to a girl on the phone. So I'm not making fun of you. I'm just having a little fun with the topic, right? So sometimes you want to talk to a girl on the phone. You want to hear her voice. You want her to hear your voice, and the girl comes back to you with, you know what? My phone service is kind of sketchy out here in the boondocks, you know. It's not reliable, I don't have a cell phone, and I can't really talk on the phone. And sometimes the women will tell you that. 99% of the time, that's a complete lie. But why is she telling you that lie? Because in many countries, if you get a harassing caller, if you get a guy who doesn't take the time to look into the time change, calling you in the middle of the night, waking you and your family up, possibly your child or children up, phone numbers are hard to change. If you get the wrong kind of guy with that information and he harasses you, like some do, you can't change your phone number so easily. You have to put up with it. Sometimes it's a privacy issue. Sometimes for the women, they live at home with family members. They haven't told their family members that they're writing to somebody who's been writing to them for 4 or 5 months, who may or may not get on a plane to come and meet them. Because if they get you excited, if they get anyone excited about the fact that, you know, you're talking to each other and you're going to meet before you've committed to meeting and then you back out, it's really, really embarrassing to the women. They get everyone excited about the idea that they've met a foreign man who's going to come and romance them and whisk them away in that beautiful fairy tale romance, and then, no, he doesn't come. That's really humiliating for women. It is especially humiliating for women in places like China and the Philippines and the Ukraine. So privacy is certainly part of it. And some of it is that the women have a relationship with their agency where the agency says, look, I'm going to screen out all the knuckleheads. I'm not going to let them touch you. I'm not going to let them waste your time. I will make sure that you only communicate with men who I have every reason to believe are legitimate and sincere in their intentions to finish what they start, to do the things they say they're going to do. So I'll screen out the silly guys and I'll screen in the good guys and make sure that you're doing that. But we have to have a partnership, dear lady, and you're not going to, you know, go off the grid and do this without me because this is how I'll ultimately get paid. Are we good? And the women will say, we're good. Pinky swear, they'll pinky swear, and they're in. And sometimes the women won't give their contact information because they believe in their agency. They like the relationship that they have with their agency. It's very similar to the agency that someone with a house to sell has with a really good real estate agent, right? Nothing wrong with that. Another lie that women will tell, one of the 3 lies that women will tell you in Ukraine when you're writing to them: my email and internet service are not reliable, and therefore I cannot give you my email address. It isn't that I don't want to give you my email address, I just can't give you my email address because the internet is sketchy, email I don't have, my email service was taken down, or something like that. And that's not true. It really isn't. So when a woman tells you that, she's being too polite, and she should probably be more direct. If she was being direct, she would say, look, if we're going to communicate with each other, and I'm going to read your letters when I get home from working 14 hours day after day after day, and I have several letters from men like you in my inbox, and I've got to read them, I do not have time to translate those letters. I can't. I just don't. And unless you are going to be really, really, really diligent with something like Google Translate, your translation is going to be messed up, and sometimes you're going to say the exact opposite of what you intend to say, and it's just going to be really confusing. And at 11 o'clock at night, that's just going to be really annoying. So I think the agency serves a very good purpose in translating your letters, and I need that. So sometimes it's a need for translation, and then the women will really rely on that as the reason for not giving you their email address. Sometimes, it's the correspondence tendencies. Guys are writing letters, writing long letters. Sometimes the women don't have time to read long letters. They want to read interesting, engaging letters. They've had a hard day, and they want to read something that's positive and interesting, 3 paragraphs long. And that's something that they would like and enjoy and can respond to. Guys, sometimes we just write, we're sitting at home and we're alone and we're sad and we're writing to someone that we believe is our friend, someone that we believe is our lover. So sometimes we're writing letters that are just long and depressing. And I'm just reminded of that scene. I read a letter recently, and I was reminded of the scene, Judge Reinhold and the Santa Claus. You remember? I was 3, and it was an Oscar Mayer weenie whistle. Christmas came, no weenie whistle. I swear, some of the letters I read are just like that, right? Forget the weenie whistle. She doesn't care. You can tell her that later. She wants to hear something positive, something fun, something flirty. And so sometimes our own correspondence tendencies just honestly make us boring for the women to read. And they would rather communicate with a translator who will maybe clean that up a little bit, edit out the 1 or 2 negative sentences, just present something that's positive and bright and light and fun to read, right? They know that guys like that virtual correspondence that goes on and on and on. They don't want to get locked into that. They don't want to receive emails that go on and on and on in their personal email box. And again, they have a relationship with their agency that they like and that they trust. All of those may be reasons why a woman may not give you her email address or exchange personal contact information. And another lie that Ukrainian women will tell you, a third lie that Ukrainian women will tell you when you're corresponding with them before you've met is, I'm not on social media. Hey, I want your social media page. Really? Well, for a lot of women who go out on social media, especially international women, a lot of women will create a profile not using their real name, so they can't be stalked, so they can't be found by somebody that they don't want to be or aren't ready to be found by. For a lot of people, social media is this opportunity to build this broad network of friends. I know people who have 300 friends on social media, all kinds of them, and I absolutely understand that. I'm not on social media. There are reasons for that. If I were on social media, quite frankly, my position is just so visible. I would have to turn a lot of people down who are customers of ours who wanted to talk about business things. I would rather engage them directly by having them call me up here in the office. And so I really have a very limited social media presence. Some people are like that. Many women in other cultures consider social media to be a private network of friends and family, and they don't want to open that up to the scrutiny of somebody that they've never met before. And that's a very, very private, realistic concern, if you will. And many women will tell you, look, when I meet you, if we like each other, you can certainly be on my social media. I mean, you'll have everything, my contact information, my social media, you'll meet my friends and family, and all of that will be very, very much out in the open and something that you'll want to participate in because I'll be telling all of them about you. But until we meet, I can't have 4 or 5 guys that I've never met before, even if I'm writing to them. Stalking me on social media. That is a network that I have from my friends and my family, and many women will feel that way, particularly in Ukraine. People in Ukraine are very private socially. They're not as open as we are. We walk down the street, we'll see people and say, hi, how you doing? People in Ukraine really don't do that. Once you meet somebody, and they want you in their social circle, they are probably more open than most Americans are with the way that they nurture their friendships and those family relations. They really are. I mean, they love close friends. They love to be with close friends. And certainly they'll do things, they'll text and they'll update their Facebook page or whatever, but they really like to get together and actually be together face-to-face and have face-to-face conversations over coffee, or a beer on a Sunday or something like that. I mean, they'll do that. They'll meet face-to-face, and they're very, very open and very, very available, but you've got to kind of get to know them a little bit, and that is just a cultural nuance that is true of the people in Ukraine in general, and certainly true of Ukrainian women. So guys, these are 3 examples of how women will sometimes not state the truth behind their actions. And that's a little bit confusing for guys, so I've kind of broken it down for you a little bit. I think, honestly, Ukrainian women, being educated, being sophisticated, I think they're too darn polite. And I think sometimes it would save a lot of confusion if they would just be really honest and direct. But they worry about offending, and they would definitely offend some of the guys who want that ultimate virtual relationship with no action plan. And they don't want to offend anybody. But in reality, those are some circumstances where you might hear one thing when a woman is thinking another. If Ukrainian women told the hard truth, they would tell us, look, I don't want to write letters into oblivion. I can't answer long letters. 4 or 5, 6 people could be writing me at one time. I have no idea if any of them are real or if they're all just saying beautiful things that don't amount to anything in the long run. What I want is a short correspondence that leads to a meeting so we will know if we're right for each other. And if we are, then of course the correspondence will open up and continue and become deeper and deeper. But I need that before I can commit myself emotionally, before I can open myself up entirely, open up my whole entire world to somebody whose voice I haven't heard, whose face I haven't seen face to face, and whose intentions I don't really have my mind wrapped around because we haven't met and I haven't heard those intentions face to face. You can avoid all of these lies, guys. You can avoid all of these little white lies, all these, considerations that Ukrainian women will show you by going easy on your feelings, if you will. You can avoid all of that by understanding the landscape, understanding what women are up against when they post a profile on an international dating website, and getting your butt on a plane to go and meet women. And